time to play ball. Welcome to the podcast with no limits. Whether it be sports, current events, or random thoughts, this is the place to step in and stay a while. Your host is a proud alumnus of Rio Hondo Prep, a former minor league baseball umpire, and a man with strong opinions. Welcome to the Get Home Safe podcast and your host, Matt Hersema.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Get Home Safe. I am recording bright and early today on a Tuesday morning just to get an episode out. I didn't have time on Monday night, so wanted to get one out nice and early on Tuesday. Like that better than kind of putting one out on Tuesday night, even though I know Tuesdays are not the main attraction really during the week for people. Most people prefer the Friday conversations, and I don't blame them for that. Usually just me rambling away about sports or my opinions on Tuesday isn't for everyone, but I do appreciate those who do tune in regularly, and you are much appreciated because I do see how many plays come in on audio and on YouTube, and greatly appreciate both. But we're back in the rhythm here, Tuesdays and Friday episodes. I already got a few Friday episodes recorded and ready to go. So stay tuned for those upcoming. But today, as you know, is Tuesday. My opinions, just reactions from a wild weekend of sports. And of course, everything going on around the world and news here in America. And again, with Matt Hersema's head, I just refer to myself in the third person. That's how you know how early it is today. You know, what goes through my head sometimes is rather random. I say it every week. It's very random, and I share it with you guys the chances I get. I told you guys recently that I watched a great Abraham Lincoln miniseries, 3-part series on Hulu. I think it was I think it was done by the History Channel, but really well done. Very just so good. The reenactment was phenomenal, and I encourage anybody to check that out. It's 3 parts. Each one's about hour and a half, 2 hours. So they're kind of like 3 little movies about Abraham Lincoln and specifically the Civil War. And one of the stats I heard in, I don't know if it's stats, but just incredible recording of history, if you will, was they go through, you know, a lot of the Civil War battles. And I'm very interested in the Civil War and, you know, the battles itself for obvious reasons, right? All the conflicts we've had in America. The Civil War was, I think, the most significant. It was, you know, amazing what our troops did in World War II, you know, going in World War I for that matter, and, you know, helping liberate Europe multiple times. And obviously it was noble to defeat the Nazis in World War II, and, you know, what we've done in the Middle East after, you know, attacking terrorism and everything. But the Civil War, if you really study it, you learn so many things, and just how America was divided. You know, 500,000 people died, and it was, you know, obviously the issue of slavery, and then it was the South versus the North, and it was basically where you were from is who you fought for. And it was, again, so many storylines, and one of the darkest times in our history, if not the darkest. But I heard this, you know, in regards to Black soldiers who were set free by Lincoln, the Emancipation Proclamation, who then joined the Union Army to fight. And it was legitimately fighting for their freedom. Very inspiring stuff. It was a war not fought over land, you know, expansion or anything like that, although some would say it was, well, it's two different countries, you know, divided by states. But my point is, I heard this about the Black soldiers who fought for the Union, and I've talked about the great movie Glory, that is one of my favorite movies. I talked about William H. Carney, who was the first Black man to win the Medal of Honor. He did so in the Civil War, but I heard from one of the historians that they had on the show that of the 26 men, Black men, that won the Medal of Honor in the Civil War. 14 came from one battle, and that battle was Newmarket Heights, also known as the Battle of Chaffin's Farm, also known as Laurel Hill and combats at Fort Harrison, Johnson, and Gilmer. Anyway, my point is Newmarket Heights. If you are interested in history, which I am, specifically Civil War history, and want to hear some inspiring stories, what those 14 men did at Newmarket Heights in that battle in the Civil War was just extraordinary. It was very violent. And you got to remember, when they first put these troops out there, there was skepticism, right? There was still prejudice in the North that, oh, can these guys really fight? And just to hear about that, just to hear about, again, over half of the Medal of Honor winners, Black Medal of Honor winners in the Civil War came from one battle. That should tell you the type of action that it was. And again, with heavy combat casualties, you get a lot of inspiring stories. So I encourage you guys. I couldn't believe that number. 14 of 26 of the Medal of Honor winners, Black Medal of Honor winners in the Civil War, were from that one battle. So I encourage you guys. I used to do Suds with Studs and kind of give, that's 14 names there that would take a while to get to, but I encourage you guys, go look up that, because I'll be honest, I had never heard of the Battle of Newmarket Heights. What was it, and you learn more as you research these things. So I enjoyed the Lincoln doc, and I wanted to share that with you guys because it was so inspiring to me. There's so many stories that we don't know about, and I want to encourage us all to learn. After watching the Lincoln doc, I came to a realization that people always ask me, what's your favorite movie? And I really do now believe that Gettysburg, I think, hands down is my favorite movie. I actually watched, well, I'll be honest, I watched all of it at some point this weekend. Found time in between March Madness. I watched a little here. I stretched it out because it is 4.5 hours or whatever. But I do love that movie and how it was done in the early 90s, and it's still so good in my opinion, and the great acting, and of course really dives into probably the most important battle in American history. So sometimes you have first loves, you look elsewhere, and you're like, no, that's still my first love. So I don't know why I'm sharing you Civil War stuff bright and early this morning, but that's just kind of tells you where my heart is today. We'll move into some less serious topics, like glasses. I wear my glasses sometimes, like AOC. I pick on her a lot, but when she wants to make a point, she puts on her big glasses, right? Some people put their glasses on, I feel like they want to sound smart. They want to look smart. Personally, I can't see anything without my glasses or contacts. I can barely see this screen. So I need them. It's a little too early to put on contacts. And sometimes I'm in a glasses mode, but I do feel like some people, celebrities and such, it's a look for sure. Because that always happens, right? You throw glasses on a face. What's everybody always say? Oh man, you look smarter. I was like, really? Smarter? Not smart. Smarter? Not very smart. Anyway, how does our mind come up with these things? By the way, very difficult to wear a mask and have glasses on at the same time. Not a fun thing. Very glad we don't have to do that anymore. So moving along here. Okay. Valerie had a comment to me because I literally, guys, I watched basketball all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then most of the day Sunday. I sure did. And I was incredibly happy. I had Friday and Saturday, I had taken off, months prior as part of my vacation days. And I'm always off Thursdays and Sundays. So little 4-day stretch here that I was rather proud of. Not proud of. But Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, these bright and early, I get these breaking news things that pop up too. So I watched a lot of basketball. Thursday, my good friend Fred Monteblanco joined me, and we indulged in a lot of hoops and bad food. And then Friday was just me. Valerie worked and then had a long an evening with the friends, and I was like solo, and the silence was fine. I was like, I've got a little okay. Where's Val? Later, but all day by myself watching hoops. It was a peaceful moment, if you will. So I watched basically all 16 games for Thursday and Friday. Saturday, trying to think, I did the same. I thought we did something or went somewhere. Maybe, maybe not. But the days rolled by quick, and I had to move around because I was starting, I need to move around anyway, but I was sitting around and just like, oh, my back's a little sore. And then Sunday we went out, we did a little lunch thing, little lunch date, came back, and then she started on a project, and I was like, oh, I always say, oh, look, a game. Turn it on. She hates when I say, doesn't hate when I say that. She just rolls her eyes. But the games were ending Sunday night. And man, TCU, they had Arizona. And she's just like, she's like, what? There's more next week? I said, yeah, but there's only 4 games Thursday and Friday each day, and then 2 on Saturday, Sunday. And she just rolls her eyes. She's like, I can't believe you didn't take a whole month off. I'm like, well, that would have been great, but I can't, necessarily afford that. So anyway, I watched so much basketball. I got home Monday night, cooked dinner, and I was kind of like looking around. I'm like, oh, there's no more games, because it was probably a little too much. I probably needed to, I don't know, take a walk, go do anything, but I always had the games on in my 2 TVs and was just really enjoying it, because I've always said before, oh man, it'd be great to just watch a whole tournament. And I know most people can't. So I do what other people can't at times, what other people would want to do. And I know I have a few buddies out there who would love that, but they got responsibilities and kids and other jobs. And so I do it for you guys. I think of you when I'm like, oh, I'm a little tired. Nope. Keep going. We got the Gonzaga game next. We got to keep rolling. So a few observations from the NCAA tournament, and no disrespect to the ladies out there. I know I have some female listeners. I'm not, well, I have a few comments about some of the things that occurred in the women's tournament, which I will get to, but the men's basketball tournament. First of all, a few things from an officiating standpoint that, everyone wants to judge the officiating and scream and yell and, oh, how could they call that? And look, at these games are intense. There's a lot on the line. We've seen mistakes happen. I don't know how many guys I've seen in the paint with the ball, just, oh, here, you have it. I don't know, man, I'd probably lose the ball if I played Division I basketball all the time. And but I don't know. There's just this like softness in the paint with these guys. They get all nervous and just lose the ball. Anyway, to the officiating, there's 2 things I pointed out that I don't like, that are not necessarily reflecting of calls. First of all, after replay, there's so many replays now. You got to replay everything. Replay. And people always wanted more replay, and now there's too much, and people don't like the instant replay results, and you can't please everyone. So it's funny how that works at all levels, at all sports, really, with replay. But after instant replay, the officials in basketball do something I don't love. Now, it usually works out fine, but they bring both coaches together and tell them the result, basically, and why. And I don't know what the option is. If you want to waste time going to talk to one coach and going to talk to the other, that happens in baseball a lot. When, say, there's a call, the crew gets together. If we don't change anything, we're just like, nope, call stands. But if we do change it, somebody saw something, a foot off the base or whatever, we go to the other coach and tell him, hey, this is why we changed it. Or you just make the call and the coach comes out and argues anyway. I don't love the optics of both coaches come together, explain it to them. I think as someone who's refereed lower levels, that could lead to a real issue. I don't love bringing both coaches together really ever, just because it's two guys who are competing. It just could lead to a bad situation, and it could lead to cooler heads not prevailing, cooler heads prevailing. Hotter heads prevailing, I guess you should say. I understand why they do it. Like, hey, here's what we saw. Here's the call on the floor, because you see it sometimes. You say that, and then one coach starts arguing and asking questions, then the other coach starts. And the only thing worse than arguing with one coach is arguing with both. And usually it doesn't happen in that replay scenario because one coach is typically pretty happy. But I don't know. It's just kind of like, it's almost like a schoolyard situation, or not schoolyard, like a classroom situation. Jimmy, Tommy, come here. Here we go. Here's what's happening. And usually both kids or coaches aren't punished. It's usually one side or the other. So that's just, as a referee, I don't know what the option is, but I don't love that. I would just be like, replay. You almost don't have to tell the other coach unless it's something significant, like tangle, like a fight potentially, because those, well, even then, that's when coaches get really intense. Well, his guy did this, that guy did that. It's just, I don't love the replay. It doesn't always need an explanation too. Sometimes it's an out of bounds call, so it's just like, yeah, just step back and point, which they do. Anyway, I don't know what the option is, but I don't love bringing both coaches together. I think it could lead to problems. And the other thing in officiating, that in the men's basketball, this is something I will give women's officiating credit for. They do better than the men's. Is the calling official in men's basketball. You make the call, you report to the table, foul on 41. And then if you're shooting free throws, or even if you're not shooting free throws, but specifically free throws, that official then goes opposite of the table. You make the call to the table, and then you go away from the table. So now, if the coach has an issue with your call, which a lot of times is the case, the coach, it's meant to diffuse, like it's so the coaches can't just, otherwise there's three officials, right? One under the basket, one table side, one opposite table for a free throw. The calling official goes opposite the table, and now you got a coach who's mad or wants an explanation, and he's like shouting across the court. Whereas if you just had the calling official go to the table side, then the coach is able to ask you, hey, what did you see? What did you, where did he hit him? And if it does get heated in that moment, an official can then turn and address the situation rather than shout back across the court, because we know how we can't have officials, defending themselves. I don't like it. I think, yes, coaches get theatrical, throw their arms up, but it's also not fair to the coaches in the standpoint of, then there's official next to you who did not make the call, and then you might get after him, or you want an explanation, and it's like, well, Randy called it. Randy called it across the way, and it's like, well, Randy should be standing next to you. Some people make these rules, and they're just like, well, the calling official, he needs to get away from the coach. I don't love that. And if you guys watch carefully, you'll see what I'm talking about when the calling official is opposite the table. Maybe in some situations it's a good idea if the coach is just out of control and you really kick the call. But even then, it's your responsibility as an official to address the situation, to not let the coach scream and yell and up and down the sideline. It puts your partner in a bad situation where you have to stand next to that coach and diffuse the situation, maybe, or you're diffusing it from far away. And it's like, maybe the guy wouldn't yell as much if you were next to him. And I would say, if he does end up screaming, I think it looks worse on him because he's standing next to you screaming versus being across the floor and he has to scream to get your attention. So I don't know. These are the things that go through my head. I always, there's a time in any officiating where you have to face a coach, look him in the eye, and have a conversation. Most of the time when you're having a conversation with a coach, your eyes are on the floor still. You still have a job to do and observe dead ball situations. But there are times when it eventually gets here, where you have to look a man in the eye, what a concept, have a conversation. For you mask wearers out there, maybe take your mask off and have a face-to-face conversation. I know that's scary, but we've had a lot of survivors out there. And if that's the bravest thing we have to do as a society is have a face-to-face conversation, then I think we probably need to toughen up a little bit. But so that's my point with the officiating. I think little things like that lead to big things, lead to maybe coaches getting out of control, maybe lead to officials being a little more passive. Let me run away from this guy, or lead to officials, if they do have to handle a situation, they look like the aggressor. They have to deal with something from far away, right? So I wish, in summary, that the calling official would have to go table side. And sometimes you see some of the veteran officials, when they do make a call, that they're like, okay, this guy's going to either blow it or let me have a conversation with him. I've seen this with veterans. They'll switch. They'll be like, hey, Bobby, you go up. I want to talk to coach here. And veteran moves that I think are good for the game. And I just wish it was the standard and not the exception. I talked about watching games all day. The first round, Thursday and Friday, it's excellent because there's so much overlap, right? You got the games, you're rolling, and there's usually a first half and a second half going, and then a game kind of just starting, and it's great. There's no breaks. As soon as one game ends, you can flip to the second half of another game. And honestly, I watch second half of a game rather than the first half. And even though I got the two TVs going, it's just more exciting, right? There's more going on. If it's a blowout, you're kind of like, all right. But man, the second day, to go from 16 to 8, and it's just like one game at a time, basically. Some overlap in the afternoon and evening. It's like you're not bored, but just like, oh, come on, I want more games. You get used to something and then it's taken from you. So the first round, you get those overlaps, the overlap of games just constantly going. And then days 3 and 4, the second round, you go to just kind of one game in the morning, one game in the late morning, one game in the afternoon. Okay, now 3 games. Yeah, it's just, anyway. I'm just complaining. I shouldn't be complaining, but by the way, you remember last year when they changed the tournament format? It was the first tournament after COVID, and all the games were in Indianapolis. They started the tournament. They went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the first round and second round. This year, thank God, back to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I much prefer that. It's little things. I know it's not a huge deal, but just I do like some traditions and some I don't know, schedules to stay the same. So that was just a random thought there. Back to officiating. Gene Steratore, I thought, has done a good job. The former college basketball official, former Super Bowl NFL white hat. Yes, he did both sports, and you'll see him on the fall in CBS talk, kind of being the Mike Pereira officiating an analyst for CBS. Well, he does a great job on the basketball side of things too. Sometimes he kind of takes a neutral stance on things. He's just like, well, where he doesn't say much about a play out of bounds or a hook and hold and things. But I think he's great. I really do believe every sport, every channel needs some type of officiating analyst. We saw it in the NBA with Steve Javie. Baseball has still yet to do it on the major league side of things. I'm not sure if maybe college baseball will be the one to take the first leap there. I mean, you have this time during, these instant replays where you could have an official kind of give his opinion. Mike Pereira was the original guy there. I started there in 2010 working with Pereira, did it for 10 years. And then it was because of his success on Fox where more and more networks decided to dive into this, and it's been beneficial. Every channel in the NFL, NBC, ESPN, Fox, CBS, they all have officiating analysts. I'm curious what they do with this Prime NFL, or not NFL Prime, but Amazon Prime, having Thursday Night Football, if they're going to bring in some type of officiating analyst. But kudos to Gene Steratore. He's a busy man with all those games going on, and I think he does a great job. It's good to hear hear him still be involved in the game because he was a great NFL official, and I enjoyed watching him work college basketball too. Plus, everyone, the ex coaches and ex players have their opinions, right? Well, it's nice to get an opinion from an official who's someone who it's not always an opinion. Sometimes they're establishing facts and things about rules and things that we don't necessarily know. So I think it's great. Let me see here. What night was that? Wednesday night, the Rutgers Notre Dame thriller. That was the best game of the tournament, in my opinion. That was the play-in game, right? The first four, just back and forth, double overtime. Notre Dame, that was just shot after shot. UCLA survives against Akron, and then pretty much dominated their second game against St. Mary's, who really was a powerful team after their destruction of Indiana. Didn't see that coming, but USC loses to Miami. I watched that whole game. Absolute embarrassment for SC. Just turnovers galore. There was a stretch. I think they had like 14 turnovers in the first half. There was a stretch of like 2 or 3 minutes where they didn't get a shot off. And it was so bad. Again, throw the ball down low. Oh, what's this? A basketball? Here, you have it. I was shocked. I was just like, I've never seen a team really play so soft in the first half and turn the ball over so much. Kudos to Miami, who's advanced to the Sweet 16. Jim Larrañaga, remember he coached that George Mason team to the Final Four back in, I think, 2006. But yeah, Miami Sweet 16 Trojans, disappointing season, just did not look good. Thought they had a pretty good team. I've never seen they had one of the longer teams in the tournament, just a lot of size. I've never seen so many 6'9" guys, just like, I keep saying the term soft. I mean, they beat me up for sure, but like just 6'9" guys who are just, I don't know, nothing to them, just dropping the basket. It was so sad, and it was upset me. And for UCLA fans out there, probably laughing their heads off seeing that. So some other big upsets. St. Peter's. Who are these guys? The Peacocks? Are you kidding me? How do you not root for a team called the Peacocks, by the way? For us Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fans back in the day, the ULA Peacocks were marching down the field, right? The St. Peter's Peacocks, they got some studs on that team that just do not care. Their coach said it best. He was like, we got a bunch of dudes from New York and New Jersey. You think we're scared of anybody? They are fun to watch. They are in a tough bracket for sure here in the Sweet 16, potential Elite Eight, having to maybe play UCLA or North Carolina if they happen to advance. But they're the story of the tournament thus far. And every single year we hear a team that we've never heard of before. Every single year. George Mason, VCU, Virginia Commonwealth, Florida Gulf Coast, Oral Roberts, right? And some of these teams don't make great runs in the tournament necessarily, but to get a win, first of all, to defeat a juggernaut like Kentucky, I mean, that's big enough. But then to win a second game and to get into the second weekend of the tournament, it's just awesome. And and it was cool. You show the arenas of these schools and them watching the game, back home for the fans that couldn't make the trip. And they show St. Peter's Gym. It looks like the pavilion. It looks like, the Stiver Center at Care Youth League Roundup Prep. Just this little gym where their fans are jumping around, losing their mind. I thought it was the best part of the tournament for sure. So St. Peter's, they won 2 games, 2 other big upsets, Richmond and New Mexico State. They lost in the second round, but 2 huge upsets there for them, and just wrecked a ton of brackets, just wrecked a ton. And this was a stat I wrote down that I thought I found interesting. Baylor was the 5th straight defending national champion to not make it to the second weekend, to not make the Sweet 16. So 5th straight defending national champ to lose in either the first or the second round. Interesting for sure. I mean, when you win a title, college basketball, you lose a lot of guys anyway, but to lose a title, to win a title and then come back, you probably got a lot of young guys, like most of these blue blood programs do anyway. But that was a very interesting stat to me. But I got to tell you, with SC out, I'll watch UCLA, and I'll see if they can make a run. UCLA, North Carolina, what a great Sweet 16 matchup. But my heart's definitely with those Peacocks, St. Peter's Peacocks. I love when the small schools step in and take down the big boys. It's really, really awesome. So some great matchups this weekend. I can't wait for Thursday. And my one argument with the Thursday, Friday games upcoming is that, again, they don't stagger. They kind of do. They're going like a game at 4 and 4:30 and then 6 and 6:30. I'm like, why can't we do like we did the first day? Let's do a game at 2, then a game at 4, then a game at 6, then a game at, let's do something like that. You got 16 games in one day. Now you got 4 games and you kind of put them all together. Like, let's space them out so you can all like Major League Baseball does basically. They go 4 games in a day sometimes and they have to stretch those out over hours. My only argument. I wish I was in charge sometimes. Okay. What else do we have today? Again, I don't want to talk forever today because I have to get to work here in another, I got to leave in about 30 minutes. Before I get into something not so serious, but pretended to be serious, basketball related. I've found that, my dream, people were like, Matt, you need to put your show on YouTube. And I'm like, I don't like being on camera. I don't like attention. I know I did a podcast, but it's mainly just because I'm not a big Facebook poster and I've posted a lot more things recently, but I'm just like, I want to get behind the mic. I loved radio, sport talk radio as a kid, some of the local sports talk and got me through a lot of my college years. And I wish I had podcasts back then to listen to, but I don't know. I don't love attention. And I saw like actors talking about something on TV the other day. And I was like, you know what? My dream would to be like a voiceover actor in cartoons or something, or a radio show host or something where no one knew my face. And like no one ever, oh, that's Matt. That's that Matt Hirschman guy. That would be a dream of mine, honestly, to contribute and maybe I'm sure it'd be nice to make some big money as a voiceover actor or whatever. But I would not want all this. And it's easy to sit here and say, right, as a guy who's living in an apartment, making not much money. And, oh, if I had a lot of money, I would want to be left alone. It's easy to say that. I understand, because money does change people. But honestly, I truly do believe this. If I was some famous guy not famous guy, but just wealthy guy, I'll say, that nobody knew about, nobody knew who I was, that to me would be phenomenal. That would be extraordinary. And I'd be the same guy who sat on his couch and watched 16 basketball games by himself. Yeah. Money changes some people, but not all money changes everything about us. Okay. I waited to get to this until the end because I didn't really want to talk about it. I'm wearing, for those not watching on YouTube, my Woke Center t-shirt here, which has the kind of the Sports Center logo. ESPN, I talked about loving things from before, like Gettysburg. I've discovered, that was a love of mine. ESPN used to be my life, the only channel I ever watched. Now I'm like upset when I got to watch, oh, it's on ESPN, this game with this fight, because I'd much rather watch other channels for a lot of reasons. But ESPN continues to be this, it used to be a sports network, right? Sports network only. That was like its initial intent. Like, wow, how amazing. Sports only. This is incredible. ESPN continues to preach, to try to sell us things that are like, why is this a topic of conversation during a sporting event? And I'm not gonna say other channels are not relevant or don't do this, I should say, because I saw some commercials during the men's tournament, again, with CBS, TBS and all that. It's more NCAA pushing some of the things. But for example, this was not an ESPN commercial. This was just during the men's tournament. And I look into the ladies out there. I know I have female listeners, a lot more men listeners. First of all, I support women's sports. Anyone that can play a game at a college level I applaud you for it. That the fact that you can maybe get your education paid for, I think it's amazing. I am a supporter of competition. I'll drive by a high school football field and I'll say, oh man, they're running track, or there's a JV football game. Drive by a little league field, who's playing. Like, I don't care who's participating, where. It's great, again, that women have leagues. I've spoken to some women on this podcast, love talking about sports with them. Maybe there's a lot of women's basketball fans out there, and I just don't know who they are. I think a lot of reasons women don't get the media coverage, say, in women's sports is it's not as popular. People will, most of America will probably watch an NBA game over a WNBA game. That's just a fact. All right. And I have never been to a WNBA game. I've worked a lot of women's college basketball games as a replay official and men's games as well. So I don't discriminate. The money's the same, which is awesome. But anyway, I saw this commercial that just drove me crazy. And it said, it was a NCAA commercial, and it had like a blank screen, and it was something along the lines of 40%, over 40% of NCAA athletes are women, and they only get 10% of the media coverage. And it had a blank screen, and it was talking about this buzzer beater a few years ago, back in 2016, so-and-so hit one of the greatest shots in NCAA history, and you probably didn't see it. And then it showed those stats: 40% of women or athletes are women, only 10% of the coverage. Buick wants to change the car company. How a car company is going to change the sports viewing habits of Americans, I have no idea. Are they going to put TVs in their cars? Hey, if you do that, I'll look into a Buick. But this is what one more time, not against women's sports. I actually support women's sports and the females that participate. But when I saw that, I went, this is complete manipulation. It says 40% of athletes, okay, but they get only 10% of the coverage. And with their brilliant commercial, they are implying that nobody saw this last, I think it was somebody, if I remember correctly, because UConn won like every championship. I believe it was South Carolina, LSU, one of those schools. I could be dead wrong. I didn't look it up because I was so mad. But someone beat UConn at the buzzer for the national championship in women's college basketball. So the implication was that the media didn't cover the game, or the game wasn't on television. It was on television. It was a women's national championship game. But Buick and the NCAA are implying that no one watched the game because it wasn't on TV. It didn't get the coverage. It didn't get the media coverage. It says that in the, it's like, no, it probably didn't get the consumer coverage, because again, most people, that's like the one college women's game a year. It's like the day after the men's game, and you flip and you're like, yeah, what are you going to watch? And I will honestly watch that for about 5 minutes, usually not the whole game, because I'm just like, this isn't as exciting. Even a young lady I was with recently, and I won't say her name, you could figure it out though. We were out to lunch and watching the two games, and she's like, oh man, the women's game is so much slower than the men's. And this is a non-sports fan saying this. So shame on you, Buick and NCAA, for implying that, well, the reason most people didn't see the game is because it wasn't on TV. No, it was on ESPN, and it was published everywhere, as it is every year. Hey, watch these games, please. No, really. If you don't, you're a sexist. Wait, what? Huh? It's just that manipulation drives me crazy. If you want to make a point, hey, it'd be really nice if more people supported women's sports. Hey, that's cool. I can get behind that. But to imply that no one saw this amazing moment in history because the media doesn't cover it. Really? Where'd you get your soundbite from? Was that just some local team? Just the local broadcast? No, that was ESPN's national broadcast. So I don't know what side this is or whatever, but just I hate lies, propaganda, manipulation. I don't care where it comes from. It's wrong, and it's always trying to push us and divide us. And it's like, well, maybe it's not that popular just because people don't watch it. That could be. If there's a sitcom that comes out and it doesn't get good ratings, it's not, well, we have a prejudiced society. Maybe just people aren't entertained by it. No, but that hurts people's feelings. We can't say that. Drives me nuts, man. I just we're in this world now where everyone's the same. Everything's equal. I'm surprised they keep scoring these games at all. The St. Peter's of the world. St. Peter's didn't just get thrown into the Sweet 16 just because, well, you're a small school. You've kind of, you've been held down, and you guys haven't had the opportunities that other big schools have had. So we're going to place you guys in the Sweet 16. No, they earned it. They took down the big schools. What's it called? Well, I just said it, earned it. They earned their opportunities. They took advantage of their opportunities. No one felt sorry for them. Oh, you guys are the Peacocks. That's a cute name. You guys should go to the Sweet 16. I don't know how we've gotten to this point in our country where we approach things this way. But again, manipulation, propaganda, I'm not about it. And one of the other things I saw was, again, ESPN, and this probably got more attention than it deserved. But there was not a moment of silence, a solidarity. They tried, again, the women basketball broadcasters tried to make a deal out of this. There's a bill being signed in Florida that is completely being misbranded and misrepresented by extremists out there, who, again, if you change the language on something, that's how you can manipulate. That's how you sway. That's how you get attention, is it by language. I've said that before. But ESPN, the women's broadcast, they tried to make a point of having a moment of silence during this very serious situation regarding third graders and younger. And if anybody else tells you otherwise about the bill, they haven't read it. I won't get into it because I try to stay somewhat neutral on these matters, or just not really that interested. But ESPN, in their infinite woke wisdom, tried to make a big deal out of this. And we're like, first of all, to have a situation in a sporting event, political or whatever, there's got to be some type of tie-in, we have students who are involved in this, or to just randomly throw something out, some political thing that has nothing to do with the basketball game, looks absolutely ridiculous. Can you imagine if Fox Sports, this is an example now, Fox Sports, if they had a moment of silence, a moment in solidarity to pledge support for all of the NRA members, the NRA families across the country who are responsible gun-owning citizens who have been labeled as killers by the mainstream media or whatever. Can you imagine that? That would never happen. But that's an extreme example on the other way. So we're gonna have a moment of silence for them being misrepresented. The NRA members, they are responsible people. They are not murderers, as they have falsely been accused of. You'd be like, isn't this a basketball game? Why are we doing this? So it's hilarious. The ESPN broadcasters, they tried to do this big scene. We're gonna have a moment of silence, and then they backed away and showed the arena, which is practically empty. They have to play these arenas in like the home venues of the teams, just so that there's like people there. And I get it. Look at, I'll be brutally honest. They do it in baseball as well, where they play the regionals and such at home sites, just because attendance would be better. So I'm not I understand why they do that, but they zoomed out and there's hardly anyone there. And it was, they showed the score. So this rather serious, it was hysterical. They're trying to have this rather serious, we stand up to evil situation. And they showed the score, and it's South Carolina against Howard University. And it's Quattros Wild on the scoreboard. It's 44-4. And I just start laughing. I'm like, is that a typo? Poor Howard, 4 points in the first half. I don't know how many they finished with, but first of all, that type of score would never happen in a men's game. Never, 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 never. Now someone's going to dig up something from 1973 and be like, Matt, see, this happened. But no, an NCAA tournament, 44-4 at halftime. Stop it. And it really made their point even more hysterical, in my opinion. So, hey, Woke Center. Hey, Espen. Next time you're going to try to make some big scene over something, don't have it in an empty arena with a score of 44-4. Probably not good. Not a great look. But if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. I don't want to get into too much of it, but I had to say my piece this morning about, again, I said it a lot, manipulation. Just we've seen a lot of that the past few years with science. We've seen deaths and a lot of things are starting to come out now, which is great. But I just hate when people are they have an agenda and they're trying to push it. And you can only use, we all have agendas, but you can only use tactics for so long. At some point, you have to look at facts and analyze things with logic and come to conclusions that make sense. That's just me. It's early here on Tuesday. I got to get to work. I don't have time to sit down and try to look up the women's basketball package on whatever app it is to get every game on Hulu or whatever. I'm a busy man. I can only commit to 16 games Thursday, Friday, 8 on Saturday, 8 on Sunday. And I guess that makes me a bad guy for only watching the men's games. So if I've lost all my female listener here on the podcast, my apologies. But I'm just speaking my mind, guys. And I promise you, I'll announce who won the women's national championship game upcoming. It has been weird that a West Coast women's team hasn't won one in a long time. Maybe I'm wrong there. It just seems like it's always South Carolina or UConn or whatever. It's very regional. But then again, so is the men's games, some would argue. Well, guys, enough out of me. It's Tuesday. I got to get to work. And then only one more work day after this until more hoops. Thursday, I'll be glued to the couch. And I do like working mornings now because I can get my work done, come home in the afternoon, hit those early start games, which I will do on Friday as well. And honestly, life is good. I used to watch SportsCenter every single night, 7 days a week when I went to bed. But I was realizing this the other day when I think I flipped it on accidentally. And I was like, man, first thing I would do is turn the TV on and put it on. Morning SportsCenter, nighttime SportsCenter. And now I just don't watch it. I watch the NFL Network. I watch Fox Sports. There's other options where I'm not, pretty soon ESPN's going to have The View on there as part of their package. And I just can't do it. All right, guys, enough for me. Have a great day. Enjoy the couple of days off here without basketball. And then Friday, got a great guest already recorded. He's been on the pod before, but you guys are going to love hearing from him and his new journey, we'll say. Just kind of an update on where he's at in life. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. You're going to have to look on Thursday on social media to see exactly who that is, but somebody you guys will enjoy listening to. I can promise you that. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy the Sweet 16. We'll be back on Friday with another great guest and a fun interview. Thanks for supporting this podcast. You know how to do so. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, follow us, rate, review, all those good things. And on social media, of course, I always appreciate the support. Questions, comments, send them my way. GetHomeSafePodcast@yahoo.com. Love hearing from you as you can help stimulate and get these conversations and discussions going. So guys, we will see you on Friday. But until then, no matter what you're doing, whether you're out on the town or rounding third base. Get home safe.